Hi, this is Elizabeth West. I'm the editorial director of BTN, and you are watching the last segment of BTN TV. We have saved a special guest for our last segment. I want to welcome Steve Singh, the managing director of Madrona Ventures.
Venture Group, yep.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me today, Steve.
Well, it's nice to see you again, Beth. So,
yeah.
Pleasure.
Of course, everyone remembers you from your days at Concur, and I know you left Concur in 2017.
Yep.
Let's just say, what have you been doing since then?
Well, I'll start with this. I miss the travel industry, but I've been loving time with my family, loving time actually working with the next generation of entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So it's been a ton of fun.
Well, I know that recently you've sort of come out of hiding, can I say, with some really interesting entrepreneurs and technology entrepreneurs and innovators.
Yeah.
We had an announcement just a couple weeks ago about Spotnana, which is a new TMC with kind of an enigmatic innovator from our past at WTMC, which I know is no longer, but is kind of reinvigorated as Spotnana. And then also just this past week, coming out with TROOP as an investor.
Yes.
So tell me about what you're looking for in these new technology innovators and what inspires you to invest in travel now.
So first of all, both these companies, Spotnana, where Sarosh is the CEO, TROOP, where Dennis is obviously the CEO.
Yeah.
These are not just amazing technologies that I think can transform the travel industry, but they're led by people who, frankly, that I felt a deep connection with. Mm-hmm. They understand their domain, travel. They understand the technology side of this industry, and they have a real compelling vision around where the travel industry where it's going to evolve and how it has to evolve. Mm-hmm. Now, here's Spotnana. You're right. It's a TMC, but it's fundamentally a open platform for innovation in one of the biggest industries in the world, right? A multi-trillion-dollar travel industry. So think of it as you would think of AWS as a set of services for developers to build great applications.
Right.
Spotnana is a set of travel services to build incredible next-generation travel applications and services, all designed around a modern architecture for the system of record, a modern architecture for how content is actually shared and consumed within the travel experience, and frankly, a set of mid-office services that makes it simple to actually book travel, handle all the processing of that travel transaction, and then obviously a great interface on top of that allows you and I as travelers to easily navigate all of our choices.
Thank you for that. And I think maybe I should have said it can operate as a TMC, but it doesn't have to operate as a TMC because it has this modular aspect to it, which also can support TMC technology, or actually be TMC technology. Tell me about the business proposition for our industry. It's direct to corporate. It's also
So Beth, I want to just back up a tiny step. So when I first met Sarosh, first of all, as you know, Sarosh is just an incredible person, real passion for this industry, and he spent a lot of time thinking through. He said, "Well, what stopped the level of innovation that Concur was bringing to it? What stopped that in the travel industry?" And really, the reason that I think Spotnana is interesting is that it's built from the ground up to solve some of the hardest problems in the travel industry, which is literally how do you distribute content, how do you actually have one integrated system of record, so the experience you have while booking on our booking tool, or when you walk up to a kiosk at British Airways, or when your travel agent is working with you, is exactly the same, all accessing the exact same information, all in real time. Now, what we felt that would be really amazing to do is take that entire platform, which is all accessible via APIs, package it up, deliver it as a TMC service to corporate customers directly. And the reason for this is we want to set the bar for what the service level ought to be, right? And that's everything from, the SLAs that you might sign with the customer to, frankly, how you align your interests to the customer. So imagine just two simple examples. I want to be able to deliver a service that's a consumption model so that the customer only pays for the service as they use it. You're not signing up to an annual subscription where you're paying for the service whether or not you use the service. The other piece that's I think really important is let's make sure that all the content that's available in the world, all the content, the suppliers, airlines, hoteliers, car rental providers, anybody that's in the travel ecosystem, that they want to make available to you, they should be able to make that available to you. And the only person that should limit that content is your company. That's it. So these are radically different models of service, radically different approach on how you set the bar.
Right.
And we'll deliver Spotnana as a TMC service, but we also make it available to any TMC. So they can come in and package it up and put their brand on it. They can say, hey, you know what? Not only do I want to package it up and put my brand on it, I want to build unique features that we as a TMC build. Mm-hmm. And you can do that and deliver that to your customers.
Okay, I want to back up a little bit too.
Okay, please.
So you did say something interesting. You said a few things interesting, but I'm going to pick one, and that is you can truly align, TMCs can truly align with their customer needs, and we're changing the commercial models.
Yeah.
Those two things sometimes go together, and TMCs have been called out for potential conflict of interest with their sort of behind the scenes deals with suppliers maybe influencing some of the choices that they recommend for their corporate clients. So that's out there that people talk about that. I feel that that's something that you're kind of referencing now in this sort of new commercial model and noting that you can truly align with the customer. You want to talk to me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think the basic philosophy here is this. As you continue to innovate, you have to get closer and closer to the interests of the customer. Mm-hmm. Ideally from day one, but sometimes technology doesn't allow you to do that. Sometimes your own business practices come in the way of you aligning to the interests of the customer. Right. And look, I'm not suggesting that those business models are wrong. What I'm saying is every generation of entrepreneurs, every generation of innovators will get closer and closer to perfect alignment with the customer. And part of that perfect alignment is I want to give you all the content that's available to you with zero preferencing. You should be able to pick, if you want to pick the most expensive fare, that's up to you. If you want to pick the cheapest fare, that's up to you. If you want to pick some combination of content that you wouldn't normally see in a Concur or another booking tool, you should be able to do that. And the reason we're delivering this as a TMC is, look, we're going to make sure that's available. Now, if you want to, as a TMC, say, hey, look, I deliver a different set of services, perhaps preference, that's up to you. You have to win in the market. Right.
And that's a really good point, that it's not an all or nothing situation, that you can innovate on top of that all-in platform with the limitations and the specifications that you want, whether that's a corporate or a TMC. And that's a really valid and interesting point. Yeah. Let's move away from Spotnana for 1 second, because I want to get to another investment that you've made, and that's in TROOP. Yeah. Tell me about that value proposition and what interested you. So personally, I just want to say that I saw TROOP for the first time a few years ago at the Business Travel Show. So I was introduced with TROOP here, and it was immediately apparent the value and the sort of stellar power that tool would have at the TMC. Yeah. So tell me about your interest in TROOP and where you're looking, and does it come together with Spotnana?
Yeah. You brought up a lot of points here, so I want to just touch upon them. Sure. First of all, I think fast forward another 2 or 3 years, I think business travel will actually be bigger than it's ever been. And the reason for this is that fundamentally, unbelievable, rewarding experiences that come from actually meeting face to face, that come from spending time together, sometimes in a structured model, sometimes in a completely unstructured model. And so this, as much as I love Zoom, as much as I love the fact that you can do a lot more, from without traveling, the reality is that it should be additive to, it should make you more efficient when you do travel. And so I think, by and large, business travel will actually continue to grow at compelling rates and be bigger than it's ever been before. That said, the individual components of that might change. Right. And so one of the things that's been really fascinating to see over the last 18 months, and I'm just talking about the companies that I'm an investor in. Sure. we've seen about a 40 or 50% growth in employee base over the last 18 months in the companies where Madrona is an investor.
Okay.
Now, at the same time, we've seen little to no growth in office space. So we're expanding the number of people we have, not expanding the number of offices. So naturally, people are working in a distributed model, which, by the way, I think is great for humanity. It's a wonderful thing that you can actually distribute economic opportunity to literally any location in the world. That's good for those communities. It's good for people. It's good for us as a world. That's after that, though. You say, okay, what's happening when you think about it? Well, how do you build culture? How do you actually drive a team camaraderie? How do you actually drive innovation at faster and faster rates? The reality is people will come together for meetings.
Right.
And those meetings are going to be not just the big meetings that we're all used to going to at conferences in Orlando or pick your conference center of choice, but also these small meetings, 2-person meetings, 20-person meetings, 50-person meetings. Meetings that happen on a very frequent basis, every month or two. And so we think that the meetings will actually be a bigger portion of the overall travel market than ever before. You know that back in 2019 it was 40% of corporate travel. We think it's going to be even bigger.
Right. And I think that type of meeting, that smaller meeting within the internal organization, has always been a really big number of meetings, but not the biggest spend on meetings. I think that there's going to be much more investment. I agree with you completely. There will be much more investment in that internal culture building meeting, because there has to be. How could there not be?
We're already seeing it, and this is why I was so excited to invest in TROOP.
Right.
Fantastic product, already has some iconic customers that use it.
Right.
These customers love the product because it actually delivers a decision-based, data-based set of choices on where's the best place to meet. What's the optimal, not just from a cost perspective, but from a time perspective, from a carbon footprint perspective, for you to conduct your business.
Right. Well, I think it's a really exciting time, particularly for that kind of technology. And I keep looking over there because Dennis is sitting right there. But okay, so I know you skipped over this part, but I'm gonna say it again anyway. Do you see a future for those two efforts and investments and passion projects to come together and work together?
So, Beth, I got to tell you, I'm a longtime technologist, and so I have a view that's driven by that experience set. And I actually don't see them coming together, not as companies, but as technologies, as products, as partners, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the reason they can do that is these are all built on modern cloud-native architectures, which means that they have microservices, which is not another way of saying small components that can easily integrate to applications that are built elsewhere. And so you should not be overly surprised to see Spotnana and TROOP be so seamlessly integrated that they're sharing a user profile, that they're sharing travel policies, that when you're using TROOP, as you book travel, it looks and feels a lot like the Spotnana experience.
Right.
You should expect that companies like Center will be deeply integrated into this experience. Center is a spend management.
I was going to ask you about Center because obviously you're the chairman there, correct?
Yes, I am, and the largest investor in the company. So, but it's not just Center and TROOP and Spotnana. The reality is every application that's built on a cloud-native architecture is going to be deeply integrated. So, for example, there's a great company called Stratify, which is building a real-time budgeting and forecasting tool. Think about how many times we've, in our past, created budgets, taken 3 months to do it, and then literally it's out of date almost immediately.
Right.
What if you can make it real-time? What if you can integrate budgets into your travel programs, into your booking programs? And you should have a choice as a customer to say, I want to integrate these tools seamlessly, regardless of who built the application.
So you're talking the language of you, obviously, but also Johnny Thorson has been talking about this microservices concept for a long time.
Yeah.
In fact, I think he kind of introduced the term a little bit at our Innovate conference in 2018 or 19. But now Johnny's a part of Spotnana as well, and I know he's been working a bit with TROOP, so you guys are definitely hand in hand on this.
He's a wonderful guy, and obviously Johnny and I go back to the days when he was a part of Concur. This is I love people like Johnny, people like Sarosh, Naveen, and obviously Dennis, who are innovators who just will not rest unless they keep improving the experience for the customer.
Well, that's definitely a trend that we're seeing. We want to see real-time data, real-time integration, all of these sort of seamless confluence of the components that we need to get this job done. Travel management is hard enough, right?
Well, and look, let's come back to TROOP. Today, when you book a large meeting, it's a centralized decision. You go to one or two individuals or a small group within your company, and you ask them to go book or plan a meeting and then go book it. The reality is that collaboration tools should be available to everybody. And you and I should be able to say, we want to put together a 3 or 4 person meeting for whatever set of topics, and we got to be able to log on to TROOP and set that up, regardless of the fact that we work at different companies, regardless of the fact that it's a small meeting that is impromptu. Why shouldn't that be just as easy as putting in place a large meeting? In fact, to be fair, you can use TROOP for small meetings, you can use it for large meetings.
Sure. All right. Well, what would you like to say to travel managers out there who are looking at new technologies, or actually, frankly, established programs who really want to push their programs forward? It's hard. Change is hard in travel management, and a lot of what we're talking about does seem to go through a process of dismantling something before you can really put it back together.
And ideally put it back together better than ever before. Look, this is the golden era of technology innovation. This is if you're a travel manager, you have more choices today than you've ever had. The key is to look at your choices and say, are these platforms that I can build on? Are these platforms that I can get value on today and value on for the next decade? And do they work with the tools that are important to me in running my portion of the business?
Do you see more in the industry going down this road? And what will be their biggest obstacle? More TMCs, more technology startups going down this road? Yeah,
look, I think that I'm obviously a big fan of Spotnana. I think this could be a multi-tens of billions of dollar revenue company. It is a foundational platform just like AWS is. So I would look at that and say, you're going to see more companies build on top of Spotnana or build in partnership with TROOP than you've ever seen, even on the Concur platform. And so my view is you're going to see a lot more innovation, but it'll be specialized to whatever that company wants to focus on. So Thrust, for example, is focused on, hey, what are the carbon emissions and how do I minimize those emissions? Not surprisingly, you'll see tools like that integrated right into the Spotnana platform or the TROOP platform.
Well, advice to business travelers, one sentence: innovate now.
I think as we come out of the COVID era and get back to life as normal, you have an amazing opportunity to platform your entire travel program on a next generation technology stack that can meet your needs. And I think this is the time to get ahead of that and go do that. Thank you very much, Steve Singh. That's nice to see you again. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. Pleasure. All right. That's the end of BTN TV. I hope you've had a great business travel show, and we'll see you next year.